welcome to the Crown Lane podcast, Crown Lane on the record. We are up to episode number 17. Congratulations if you made it this far. Very, very lucky that we've got a wonderful special guest with us today, and the person sitting opposite me, David Laudat.
David Laudat.
I got it right. Oh my word.
How you doing, Lawrence?
David, thank you very much for
You're
coming
welcome,
and
mate.
spending time with us on the podcast.
No.
Just for a little bit of context, before I let you explain, for people who might not know who you are, for me, it's lovely having you in this position in the podcast, because I've got to know you, and us at the studio have got to know you through your amazing work that you do here with your vocal coaching. We're sitting in the room, which is your office, basically.
This is a fabulous office.
This is your space, really. You're in here probably more than anyone when we look at our calendar year.
Wow.
Maybe you didn't know that, actually.
No, I didn't
There
know.
you go. I'll give you some live stats. But we love it when you're here. We really, really enjoy your presence, and when you come down to the office all the time and all the amazing stories that you got, and it just seemed ridiculous not to have you on the podcast and talk through kind of what your experiences in your life as a singer, because David, you have been a singer before and a vocal coach and an expert in the field. We need to pick your brains, basically. So I'm going to hand over to you. Can you give us a brief overview? Who is David?
Well, thank you for inviting me on the show. Actually, I've really enjoyed my time working here. I'm quite instinctual, and I work with emotionally based singers. So I use a lot of that in my vocal coaching to bring out the emotion to get the best out of any singer. And when I first started working here, it's about the people that are around you, because it affects what you do in your working day when you are surrounded by negativity. And if you're surrounded by positivity, it then has that positive effect on what you do as a vocal coach, I think. Especially when I deal with a lot of emotion-based singers. Singing is emotional anyway. And so you get a cacophony of different types of singers come in. Some who are kind of like, really emotional, and they get a huge amount of vocal affectations in the sound. And some who are just, come straight down on the beat, no kind of wide dynamics, etc. So working here has kind of like, and having you, Chris, John, and the way that you deal with your clients, it's been perfect for me. So this is a great place to work.
Brilliant. I probably need to clarify, because I said about this being your office, just clarify, you don't actually work for Crown Lane.
No, I don't work
we wish
for.
you did.
I work here.
But you're in this sort of stage of your life, your main thing is that you're freelance vocal coach, and with BIM as well, right?
I work with many different organisations. I work for British Institute for Modern Music, for London College of Music at University of West London.
Yeah.
I do module leadership for a company called Tileyard, where Tileyard Education runs a course developing voice and style. So I go in and I'm the module leader for that particular module. It's a master's level, but I usually do the degree students. I don't often work with school kids. I did a bit of work years ago for Stagecoach, and that was really nice because you get young kids. But you know what they say: never work with children or animals. And it can be a little bit raucous with young kids as well. So it's a case of every time that you're working with the younger kids, it's like suck it and see, how it goes. You can't plan ahead too much.
You're talking to an ex-teacher here.
Of course
I'm getting the shakes even thinking back about it. So let's go back a little bit then. Okay. It's up to you how far you want to go back. I know you mentioned a couple of things to me when we were outside having a quick debrief in the car park a minute ago to go behind the scenes. But you were mentioning kind of your beginnings and where you were raised, where you were born, and how that sort of, there was some musical interventions quite early on. Do you want to we talk about your kind of CV in its totality? We'll break it down from that beginning part then.
My CV is long. I've been in the music industry for many years. All I ever wanted to do was sing, and my earliest memory is sitting down on the kitchen floor at our house. I was brought up in Basildon in Essex, and listening to my mum and her sisters sing while they're cooking. And I remember distinctly, I must have been about 4 or 5 years old, sitting on the floor, looking up and thinking, wow, that's a great sound they're making. What's that? You know, and it really, it made me joyous and it made me feel happy. And as I got older, I did realize that the things that make me happiest in life was music. So I actually ventured on that road to becoming a musician quite early in life. And all I ever wanted to do was sing. My father played trumpet, but never played over here. I remember my mum saying, yes, your father played trumpet when he was a young man. And she was Irish, my mum.
Yeah.
And
yeah. I mean, you got the accent perfect, by the way.
and so my dad made sure that there were instruments in the house. Me and my brothers. I have 5 brothers, 2 sisters I had when I was young. One of my sisters passed away a couple of years ago. And we all had an interest in music. We all had an instrument at home. And Dad would make sure that we had an instrument to play.
Oh, that's amazing.
Never pushed us, never forced us, never made us, practice or anything, but just left it down to us to do what we want. And I was just the one that went a little bit further. Then my brother, Maffia, he joined me. He was a bass player, and we formed a band. We were rehearsing in a school called Woodland School in Basildon in Essex, and across one of the other rooms there, a band called Depeche Mode were rehearsing, as well as Alison
What
Moyet.
age were you here?
I would have been 15.
Yeah,
about 15 years old, 16 years old.
And them of a similar age?
Yeah. There's about a year or so between us.
Wow.
Alison Moyet was rehearsing there with a band called Screaming Abdabs, I remember. And she was always a fabulous singer.
Yeah.
And so, there was that environment. And Basildon's one of those places, if you were interested in music, there were loads of venues and there were loads of opportunities. And there's a huge music scene that really encouraged creativity at the time. And one of the great things about Basildon was the fact that they encouraged music in the schools and for extracurricular activities as well. There's lots of avenues for music. It was great. It was a great upbringing.
And then kind of skipping forward a bit, you as a professional singer.
Oh, well, I started out as kind of, would you believe it? I was a merchant banker. I was a domestic...
No, I don't believe that.
Right, so I was a domestic banker. I left school at 16. I became a domestic banker, and I was working for National Westminster Bank in Fenchurch Street. I then went on 2-3 years later, I became a merchant banker dealing with stocks and shares for a company called Hill Samuel Investment Management. I did realise that at that time I was pushing myself to learn my music and keep a job. It was quite important in first-generation Afro-Caribbean families. You work, I wanted to go to college to study fashion designing, but there was a lot of things around that idea that didn't sit well with my culture at the time. You get out, big family, you help your family out. So I started work as a domestic banker, went on to do merchant banking, and then went from there. I got some friends of mine in Basildon. We were rehearsing bands. Me and my brother got together. He was a bass player, the vocals, and we had a rock band. So it was this black rock band that was similar to bands like Living Colour.
Yeah.
That sort of vibe. And no one was interested in black rock bands at that time. So we kind of faded into the background very quickly. But I met a few people, and we started recording, started rehearsing together, getting bands together. And eventually, I'm working at Hill Samuel, and a friend of mine called Alan Vosper, great guitarist and vocalist, called me up and said, did I want to do a gig in the West End? So we got the residency for the Empire in Leicester Square. I did 2 years of 5 nights a week working there, and 5 days a week I was doing my day job, and 5 nights doing singing.
That's such a common theme with musicians, isn't it? Is that absolute burnout, push, trying to make money in one place and then trying to make a name for yourself as a musician as well, and
it's
just
kind of crazy.
Really going for it, isn't it?
It was always hard work because the competition was fierce. There's always been a lot of bands in my periphery, you know, who were of a high standard. So we wanted to kind of match them.
Yeah.
We rehearsed really hard. We got the gig, did 5 nights a week, and I literally learnt my trade on that stage at the Empire, working 5 nights a week, learning how to control a stage, control an audience. Sometimes there were like 2,000 people in. So you could get, we worked on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights. And Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights were like 2,000 people in. It's in the middle of the West End in Leicester Square. So you had loads of tourists in. And it was just one of those places where you go, everything is possible. You get up on stage, learn your stuff. And I did. I had such great fun. An awesome band. Everyone in the band, musicians and the vocalists, because there were 4 of us singers, went on to do some incredible things. You know, one of the guys, Paul Moran, was the MD for huge bands. Alan Vosper, he's worked with everyone from crikey, from Westlife to Peter Andre, you know, he's done so many gigs. But everyone was of a high standard. And I always wanted to keep my standard really high because I realised that coming to London, the competition was fierce. Every church you go to, every corner you went to, every bar you stepped into, someone was a great vocalist.
Yeah.
You know, so you had to compete.
Yeah.
And I started doing pub gigs, you know, small kind of working men's clubs and stuff like that. Friday nights and Saturdays we were at the Empire, but Saturday daytime and Sunday daytime we could get lunchtime gigs in pubs.
Doing the circuits.
And so we used to doing the circuit. So we used to do that as well. Great fun, great days.
Amazing. And then moving forward then again, I'm going to kind of skip forward a bit here a little bit, and I don't want to rush through, but talking about your vocal, you as a vocalist with the Bucketheads.
Yeah, I mean, let's just step back one from the Bucketheads.
Yeah, sure.
To get to that point, I had to be, because I got a phone call from a record company, a guy called Nick Hawkes, and he asked me to join the Bucketheads. But he only asked me to join the Bucketheads because I had previous work, and I'd been doing some demos for a couple of the bands that he had signed, and he had heard me on one of the tapes, one of the recordings, and thought I had fit the bill for this band. So I'm working, doing lots of different types of stuff, backing vocals predominantly. And he just said, you know, would you like to join this band? I didn't know who the Bucketheads were. I had to ask a mate of mine, and a mate of mine says, yeah, he goes to Louis Vega and Kenny Dope, but they are the masters of work, one of the finest DJs in the world. And they had this album coming out. They had a single out called The Bomb, and I think within weeks of them recording it, it just went crazy over in the States, so they needed a lead vocalist to join the band. I joined the band literally on a Wednesday. I got the phone call. Thursday, I got the tape, and the old days, the old cassette tape with all the songs on it. Friday, I'm being flown out to New York, so I'm learning the songs on the airplane. Get there, Saturday, I start rehearsing. I'll rehearse Saturday and Sunday, and there was a showcase on Monday at Vinyl or The Shelter in New York, and we did the gig, one of the scariest gigs I've ever done. If you can imagine, there's a lot of Hispanic guys in the band, and so the club itself is kind of heavy. You know, you walk in, there's a load of Hispanic guys at the back, like this. What to expect from this band. And it was a scary kind of moment for me because I knew that there were television cameras going to be there. There was going to be radio, newspaper people, because it was their showcase gig. I knew the importance of the band. I knew that they had just had a big hit single, and this was the showcase. And I went on stage, man. I was so scared. I had to change my trousers twice. It was crazy. I remember standing there, and I believe it was Fatboy Slim was at the back. And he was standing at the back with a couple of other people. And there's a bunch of Hispanic guys standing there, and they looked mean. We started the set, and kind of no one moved. It was like, you know, are they enjoying it? Are they not enjoying it? And suddenly I saw this guy nodding his head. And I thought, I'm going to play towards you because you seem to enjoy it as a performer. You played them, and suddenly there was this bleed where the knock-on effect meant that a few more people started enjoying it, and more people, more heads were nodding. There wasn't shouting or lots of dancing going on. There was just appreciation for the vibe and for the energy of the band. The band itself were the loudest band I've ever worked with in my life. Being on stage, I was wearing earplugs and had my monitors cranked up as well. It was just crazy just to hear what I was doing. But it was a great time. The song was really successful, the first single. The second single, I actually got to sing lead vocal on, because the first single was a sample. Street sounds swirling through my mind. Well, it's a sample of Peter Cetera from the band Chicago, and he, Louis Vega and Kenny Dope had nicked the sample from there, so they had no lead vocalists, and so I kind of made it my own on stage, and it kind of worked. We did the American tour. Did a little bit of the European tour, came back to the UK after that. I did the second single and tried to get involved in the next album that the Bucketheads were doing, but it was a new album, a new concept called New Yorican Soul. And it was a critically acclaimed album. And I sent a demo down. They all wanted me to appear on the album. But unfortunately, right, George Benson happened to was asked to do the album as well, and he ended up taking the place of me on that particular album by what were they called? New Yorican Soul. Yeah, by them it was the song that I was meant to do. George Benson ended up doing it, so I lost out to George Benson. Hey,
I mean, fair enough. Going to your work as a vocal coach, which is quite varied. And actually, I've got a list here. Can I read through and then you kind of say yes, no, and maybe some that I might have missed. But reading through here, as a vocal coach, you've worked with artists such as the Spice Girls, E17, Westlife, All Saints, Liberty X, Ash, Rick Astley, Heather Small, Blazing Squad, Lisa Maffia, 100 Reasons, but to name a few. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, that's about right.
It's quite a CV there, isn't it?
Yeah. I really enjoyed.
How did that all come about then?
Vocal coaching? Yeah,
vocal coaching.
Many years ago, I was on tour. I think I was doing the E17 tour, which is a story within itself. Can I tell the story about how
go for it. Yeah.
So I'm a struggling singer. I'm trying to make my way in London, where there are thousands and thousands of excellent vocalists. The whole scene is just taken up. A friend of mine called T Green, fine vocalist, he got to do an album for Daryl Hall. Asked me to come in and do some backing vocals for him. So on his album, I sang backing vocals on a song called Money Changes Everything. Now, T was well known. He had done all the backing vocals on the album. When I came to London, he recognised that I was able to do a half-decent job as a vocalist. And so he pulled me in to do some other things. And then he heard that A17 were going out. And he said, Dave, would you want to audition? I said, I've never auditioned for anything. Most of the jobs that I ever had were just handed to me. You know, Dave, do you want to do this gig? Dave, do you want to do that? And this was an audition. But you had to be a singer-dancer to get this job. So I turn up at the audition, knowing full well that I've got 2 left feet, right, and a limited amount of rhythm, and we're on the audition itself. There's the musical director, the tour manager, and T Green standing there, and they said, "Would you mind singing a song for us?" And they got on the piano, and I sang a song, and they went great. You could see their faces; they were going, "Yeah, that's all right." So I sang the song, and then he went, "Right, we got the choreographer here. We just want to show you some moves." And I froze. At that moment, I thought, there's no way I'm going to get this gig. So I thought, sod it, I'll just have a play around. And so the choreographer took me through a couple of moves, and they're all standing there and going, okay, now that you've got those moves, I want you to freestyle.
It's literally the worst thing that I think you could hear.
And the tape went on, and I started dancing. I looked like a fool.
So there's possibly footage of this somewhere.
There must be footage of it somewhere. And I'm jumping up and down. My legs are going out doing my James Brown stuff. And it was the most dreadful experience. I learned a year later that I had got the job before I even started dancing, and they just wanted to see me dance to take the piss.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. So I had the job anyway.
Yeah.
But they have a video somewhere of me making a fool of myself.
Well, let's pray to whichever God you pray to that somehow we get to see that footage at some point.
So I went on tour with the guys. I got the job as backing vocalist. It was probably the most physical job because it was singing and dancing as well.
Yeah.
And on the stage, they had these big scaffolds and you had to keep going up to the top, which was 2 tiers up, and coming down, doing a bit of dancing and singing. So we were on in-ears, there was a monitor system, we had handheld mics, and it was a tough gig. I did the gig for a couple of years until obviously one day when Brian Harvey made the comment on, I believe it was a BBC interview about the drugs and the Leah Betts. And they sacked Brian. And they asked me to fill in for Brian to finish off for the rest of a kind of European TV tour. So I actually stepped in the place of the lead vocalist and went off and finished the tour with the guys.
Wow.
And through that, I got a lot of interest from one of the managers, Sally, and she signed me and my girlfriend. We were both singers on the gig, and we had a duo at the time. And it was really crazy.
Amazing.
Because she saw something in us that was cool. We went out, we did a load of demos. We got that close to being signed. But it was crazy. The office was down the road from where I lived. And we'd been down to the office the previous day, me and my girlfriend at the time, who's my wife now. And me and Lisa went to the office. We had a meeting with the manager. She went, great, everything's going great. It looks like we're going to get you a deal. Come back and see me in a couple of days and we'll sort things out. And we went back to the office. 2 days later, everything had moved. Empty. And she had just disappeared.
Oh, my word.
So I've been in touch with Sally since. And, she had a lot of personal problems and blah, 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 blah. And it never happened. But hey, me and my wife could have been famous.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I guess quite a big credit within your career comes along with a new reality TV show that came about, which was The X Factor.
Yeah. Vocal coaching was something that I got into because of E17.
Yeah.
Brian, we used to warm him up, and the boys, I would warm them up before the gig because I was doing my own personal warm-up anyway. And everyone would notice that I'm warming people up. And the MD of the band was originally Phil Edwards. And then Simon came in, Simon Ellis came in, and he took the second tour and the third tour as MD. When we finished touring with them, he got the Spice Girls gig, and he knows that all the bands that I was working with as a backing vocalist, that I would go backstage and I'd warm them up as well. People like Dina Carroll, China Black, and we used to do our own warm-ups. And he then went, Dave, I've got this gig for you. It's the Spice Girls. And I said, well, I'm not really the most experienced vocal coach, but I know what I'm doing and I know how to convey a message to students.
Yeah.
He got me that gig, and that gig actually made every artist pay attention. Simon Cowell then got to hear about me. And Simon then pulled me into, he was looking at Sonny BMG at the time. And he asked me to do a load of other acts. And suddenly, Spice Girls, then Westlife, then All Saints, and the amount of pop bands that I worked with. There was one year, on Top of the Pops, 6 of the top 10 acts were acts that I was coaching. Amazing. I was just over the moon with it, man. It was crazy. It was a crazy time when music was king.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And the music industry has irreversibly changed.
Yeah.
It's so completely different from those days, but it was such a fun time.
Yeah.
And there was so much work around at the time. I think the pop industry was flourishing to the nth degree, at the time, and it was a great time to be alive.
And what was your role within the because you were with the X Factor for 2 series, the first couple, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So what were you doing on the show then?
I remember just before the show, I was in the studio doing some work with Westlife in a rehearsal studio. And a guy called Ashley Tabor was looking after them. I had no idea that he was involved at all in the X Factor. I went on holiday with the missus. I got a phone call from him saying that they're doing a new show. Would I come down and audition for it? And I looked at it and I thought, it's television, and I don't like television. Doing interviews and being on TV is nothing that's easy for me. It's nerve-wracking. And I thought, nah, that's not the sort of thing I want to do. So I said no. He phoned me up again and said, look, come down and do it. We'll get a flight over. We'll get you back to Taormina, that's where I was on holiday, within a day. I went down, met the head of ITV, Light Entertainment, and I got the job. She liked me. I knew Simon. I knew Astley. They were all involved in the show, in the creation of the show. And they asked me to come on board as the vocal expert. So I did a couple of years as a vocal expert and a vocal coach, basically for the bands I was working for on the show. It was 2 years of fun, a completely different experience. Doing TV was something that, even though I didn't enjoy doing it, I could do it. And then I went on just after that. I did a few other shows. They got me involved as a judge on a TV show called Wannabe, which was a VH1 MTV collaboration. I then went on to do a short show for Channel 4, E4, and the show was called E4 School of Performing Arts, where this fictitious...
I think I remember that.
Yeah. I was head of the vocal and songwriting department on there, on the fictitious vocal and songwriting. Department, and then I did a couple of other shows as a judge on some reality shows, which was great. And I remember the very last show I did, I decided at the end of it that I don't want to do TV anymore. And I haven't done since. It wasn't for me. Even though I could do it, it wasn't something that I wanted to go down. I wanted to be creative. I wanted to go back on stage. I wanted to be performing. And the closest I could do to that was not TV, was not as a judge on a TV, although it could have led to more things. It wasn't where I wanted to be. I just wanted to perform.
No, that's fair enough. I have a question for you just before we go to a little break, which is that quite a few of the people who listen to this particular podcast are students. I mean, we have quite a wide demographic, but this always goes out to our education partners, our schools, so young, aspiring musicians, vocalists. So it's always really handy to hear from experts like yourself, who have, this incredible history and knowledge about your specialist subject. When we're thinking about vocal coaching, I remember thinking when I was quite younger, I always kind of refer it to tennis, where I'd be watching like the world's #1 tennis player, and they always talked about their coach that they're working with. I'm like, why would they need they're the best in the world. Why would they need a coach? And similarly with musicians, when you think someone's at the height of their game, but they're also having vocal coaching, you think, like, why would you then need that? So, what is the importance of having vocal coaching? Throughout, the beginning, middle and end of a career.
Yeah, I think sometimes you have to look at vocal coaching as, let's say you're in a gym and you've been pushing yourself and you go to the gym every single week and you hit a wall on the type of exercises you want to do. So you call in someone, you go, let me see one of the instructors here to see whether I could get any more out of that exercise or out of that exercise. And vocal coaching is pretty much the same. I always remember that vocal coaching is dealing with the larynx, which is an internal instrument. You can't hit it like a drums or strum it like a guitar or play it like a piano. So it's therefore governed by how you're feeling, how you're thinking. And your feelings, they change.
Yes.
And you then deal with a sound that's produced by your brain communicating with your larynx on your feelings. And you've got to know how to deal with those feelings that are coming out, to produce the greatest sound that you can as a vocalist. Because the best singers are the most emotional singers.
Yeah.
The greatest singers in the world ever have been those who have been able to tap into some sort of emotional content, lyrical attachment, emotional connections. You know, they're the ones that I believe that we should all look to when we're kind of like learning how to sing, rather than the average singers who don't worry about that, just sing the notes by numbers, singing by numbers. I don't like singing by numbers. I just like singing with emotion. You know, the difference between, let's say, Lionel Richie and Edward or Tedward, whatever they were called. Jedward even, yeah. You know.
Okay, so who... This isn't like a ranking or anything like that, but just off the top of your head, I know that one just sprung to me of someone who's like a really, like, you look through history, someone who just purely sang emotionally. The one that I think of is one of my favourite artists, was Nina Simone, which just incredible. Everything was just, it was like, she reminds me of Van Gogh in a way, that is just this kind of sometimes tortured soul, and just everything came out. If you ever watch any of her live gigs in France, and sometimes she has like a proper breakdown live on stage.
She's an amazing storyteller.
Yeah.
She conveys her message across every single time she sits down on the piano, and every single time she opens her mouth to perform. She conveys this message. And it's like opening your soul up.
Yeah.
Which is why you can understand tortured souls when it comes 100%. To artists, because they open themselves up to criticism. You know, some people don't like Nina Simone. And some people think that she is an angel sent from heaven. She opens her mouth and this amazing sound comes out that is full of conviction. You know that she's feeling absolutely.
It's the most authentic singing I think I've ever seen in my life, where, you know, I don't want to down on a program like, I don't know, the X Factor, but there's a certain act that is done while you're singing. You know, there's a lot of people who might follow a formula of, this is how we do it, kind of theatrical singing in a way. But whenever I watch someone like Nina, I see someone who is unapologetically themselves and whatever they're saying and whatever they're feeling, and it often comes out quite differently from gig to gig as well. I remember seeing a song of hers called Stars and watching her perform that live on a grand piano. And I cried the first time I saw it. Like, I don't know what I'm watching. And it was not necessarily the best singing in the world either at the time that she's doing it. But it's just this, you know, when you're talking about the emotional side of how you know, your larynx changes and your voice and your headspace that you're in and the sound that you're getting out. I mean, that for me, it's just like,
it's crazy. You know, the voice can do so many things. But the minute you attach the emotion to how you're singing, it's kind of uncontrollable. You have to learn how to control it, to convey it in a melodic sense. You know, people like Nina Simone, she just lets go, opens her mouth, and she bears her soul. You know, and that's really, really hard to do. You know, it's really hard to control. Some of the greatest singers that I've ever worked with, for instance, you mentioned tuning and pitching and stuff. You know, I've never worked with a singer who's got, you know, whose tuning and pitching is 100%. And I have worked with singers whose tuning is not great, but they convey this message because emotionally they are absolutely in unison with their feelings, and they're expressing themselves 100%, and that's very, very hard to do. You know. Right, we're going to take a very short break.
Okay, going to come back.
Yep,
I've got a couple more questions for you.
And rum.
See you in a minute.
See you in a minute.
Passionate about podcasts and sound? Dive into the Sculpt Mixing course. Developed over 2 years, this online course delivers top-tier mixing tips straight from our bustling commercial studio. With guided videos, downloadable audio content, and a comprehensive handbook, you'll elevate your skills at your own pace. Visit crownlanestudio.co.uk/education and enter podcast special at checkout for an exclusive 30% discount. At Crown Lane, we help you sound better. Download now and let's get back to the episode.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Crown Lane on the Record podcast.
Cheers, Lawrence.
Thank you, David. I've got a question for you now, which is, again, thinking about the vocal coaching that you've done, your expertise with, you know, all the techniques that you do and how brilliant you are and how much knowledge that you have. Again, thinking about maybe some of our younger audience and our students who might be listening who are thinking, well, I really do want to try and make it now as a vocalist. it's so difficult to advise, and I know that, but is there any main key points that maybe we need to be thinking about as we're starting our journey as trying to become a vocalist?
The whole industry is in flux, and it's evolving and changing, and it's constantly evolving and changing. So what works today may not work tomorrow, but I think one of the most important things to consider these days is that you are the master of your own destiny. These days, you don't have to go through a record company. What you can do is build up your socials. And social media has become such a huge beast that it controls where people will see you, how people will see you, and in what dynamic will they see you. So I would say, work on your social media. Understand what social media can bring to you. Keep on recording your songs every day. Putting out little segments of your songs on a daily basis is doable. It will, the domino effect will eventually pick up more fans, and your fan base is all important. If you build up to a certain point where your fan base is high, record companies will come looking for you, But nowadays, you have to be a content creator, vocalist, instrumentalist,
brand manager,
the whole lot. And these are things that you have to learn if you want to be, consistent. If you want to earn a living. What is it they say about how many hours before you're a pro? Like 1,000 hours or something, or 10,000.
10,000.
Right. So you do.
You've got 9,000 to go.
Got 9,000. So 10,000 hours, you become an expert at what you do, and then you have to prove your point. So those 10,000 hours. It's purely practice. It's practice and constant practice. Your tool is your larynx. Your ability to sing comes from here first, from your larynx first. Work on it. Practice it. What can it make? What sounds can you make? What makes you any different than the other singers? Because a few years ago there was a bunch of generic singers that came out that were all sounding pretty much the same, and predominantly female singers, because there are a lot more female vocalists who come to me than male. 99% of my students are female. And there was a sound that they were all producing that was very, very similar. And, what's going to differentiate you between that and, and something else? You want to be known as an individual rather than just another copy of someone else. So work on your individuality, work on your sound, work on your style, and do your socials. It's changing. Not even the record companies are fully aware of how to do it all. They're still busting.
It's a beast that went off on its own, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. Social media, the internet has gone off, and it's created differences which everyone's still getting used to. Even these many years later, there are new ways to skin a cat. Can I say that?
Yeah. Well, you said it now, haven't you?
Yeah.
Can I ask then, that's just fantastic advice. Really, really good. Can I ask about some maybe like physical things as well that we think, maybe not about how to get into the industry, but as a singer who, again, you're starting off and you're trying to be the best person that you can and the best singer that you can. Is there any like really little tip, little cheats, little things that you can advise before you practice, before you're going on stage to sing, before you're going into the studio? What's the best things that we can do to prepare ourselves with our voice?
Well, if you can imagine for a second that you're 15 minutes into a gig. So the gig has started, you're 4 songs in. Usually by 4 songs in, you're feeling really warmed up. But you want to start like that. You want to have the beginning of your gig like that. So beforehand, things like lip bubbles. You know what lip bubble is?
No.
It's like this. And it produces a real consistent airflow. And some resonance exercises like this. If you do, let's say, 3 minutes of lip bubbles, and then 3 minutes of this, some resonance exercises, all the air will be kind of moving forward for forward placement, and you'll get a warmer, more robust sound. If you do that before the gig, and do some gentle run throughs, pentatonic scale, and so on and so forth, and do a few of those. You're warm enough to be 15 minutes into a gig, but you have to do, I'd say, between 15 minutes and 30 minutes of exercising just beforehand. And then you'll feel great when you open up and your sound will be far more superior.
Amazing.
And then it's up to you where you take the sound. Where do you want it to go? Now that you're warm and you feel 15 minutes into the gig, what can you do? How are you feeling in the gig? Are you being authentic as a vocalist? Are you using emotional connection? Are you writing songs that lyrically have some sort of, lyrical attachment to them? How are you then singing to an audience? Are you bringing them into your story? Are you allowing them to come into your front room while you're singing? It's like having your toilet open when you're having a poo. It is, babe, because it's so difficult to express yourself, and it's personal, and it's really, really hard. But are you doing that on stage? Are you being authentic as a vocalist?
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, David. I'm very aware that we've also caught you at the end of your working day. We're doing this podcast after you've done like 4 hours of vocal coaching. I'm very aware. I don't want to take up too much more of your time. Bro. However, before we wrap up and we'll do our recommendations, and I'm very sorry to announce to you that you have to take the Crown Lane questionnaire.
Oh, excellent. Yes. Come on, lay it on me.
8 questions.
8 questions. Okay.
The only rule is you can't. Yeah, it's quick fire.
Like
you can't be mucking around with. Oh no, that's really hard to say. You just got to go for it.
Okay.
Yeah. We had Gordy on last time. He was too quick. It's quite rude, actually. It's bloody rude if you're listening, Gordy. Okay, are you ready?
Yeah. Love you, Gordy. By the way.
Question number 1 for you personally: what is the best format to listen to music in? So if you're going to sit down and listen to an album, do you want to listen to it on vinyl, CD, tape cassette, stream it? For you personally, what's your favourite?
Vinyl. The sound is just more superior. It's analog, You
should come to Vinyl Club. We have a vinyl night at Metronome.
Do you know what? I will come down now. I didn't realise that you did that. But
Saturday. No, not Saturday. Friday the 12th of September. That's the next one. Anyway, question 2. Do you prefer to be in the studio or live on stage?
Ooh. Live on stage.
Live on stage. Still nobody's ever picked studio. It's not a good sign for Crown Lane, is it? I'm the same. Of course, live on stage.
There's a huge difference between the two. When you're
humongous.
The microphone picks up certain things when you're doing live on stage, and other things when you're in the controlled environment of a studio.
Yeah.
So there's pluses and minuses on both.
And you're forgiven. If you're doing an hour and a half gig and you muck up, 15 times, but you go, hey, and you keep going with it, nobody cares.
Yeah.
If you do that in the studio, we go, right, go back again.
Let's do that again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So this is very, very different. Okay, question number 3.
Yeah.
The best gig that you've ever been to?
1978, Tottenham Court Road, Dominion Theatre, Earth, Wind and Fire.
Oh, what a great answer.
It was the most incredible gig. My brothers took me for a birthday present.
Amazing.
And it was amazing gig.
After this, I want to talk to you. I'm not going to waste time on the podcast now, but one of my favourite songs of all time, After the Lover's Gone, because it's the most insane song. It changes key and modulates.
Who wrote it, the music?
I don't know. Can't think.
I'll remember in a minute.
We're going to come back to that, but yeah, that must have been insane. Yeah, it must have been a brilliant.
It's a brilliant vocal arrangement as well. Yeah. The musical arrangement of that, the production is most.
And everyone in the band was also like a really good singer as well.
Yeah.
So they were just like singing into their trumpet mics.
Yeah.
Anyway, fantastic answer. Next one's a weird one. The best gig that you haven't been to. So meaning any gig throughout history, you think, I wish I could have been at that.
Prince.
Second time.
I never got to see Prince.
Yeah.
It's the one artist that I go, damn, if there was some way that I could have got to see Prince, I would have done.
Yeah.
Yeah, Prince.
Good answer. Question number 5, your favourite instrument to listen to. And I mean, like, if someone was playing it professionally in the same room as you, what instrument is just the best?
Guitar.
That's also a really popular answer. Right, next question. Least favourite instrument to listen to?
Oboe.
Again, not the first time that's come up in this podcast.
But the worst instrument has got to be bagpipes.
You don't want to be in the same room as
is it B flat? Bagpipes are only playing B flat.
Always flat.
And it's the most dreadful sound. I don't mean that. No. There's a beautiful sound that bagpipes make when played badly. It's like the most.
It's
awful
horrible when it's
thing.
played badly. Because I spend quite a bit of time in Scotland. If you hear it from half a mile away, fantastic.
Yeah. From half a mile away.
Okay. Next question. Which album is the best to give to someone as a gift? Imagine his birthday, you think, you can't go wrong with this album.
Okay, I'm going to be a little bit controversial here.
Okay.
There is an album by a guy called Lewis Taylor. The album's called Lewis Taylor. It came out in roundabout between 96 and 99, I believe it came out. It has stood the test of time in production, in vocal arrangement, and if anyone ever has an opportunity to listen to that album, it's called Lewis Taylor by Lewis Taylor. It can be a bit of a hard listen, but musically speaking,
genre?
Musicality, neo-ish.
Right, okay.
Neo-soul. English guy. From where was he from? East End somewhere. Yeah. Really small guy, unassuming, doesn't look like a pop star, opens his mouth, and just this amazing sound comes out. He actually produced his albums himself, played every instrument himself, sang background vocals himself on almost everything he did. I actually got an opportunity to meet Lewis Taylor many years ago when I was asked to come in and do some backing vocals for him. He was signed by Virgin, I believe, at the time, and he was the new hope for the English music scene at the time. Prince wanted to work with him because he thought that he was uber creative. Never actually kind of he put out a few albums, but never had the success that was due him. He is an absolute.
It's really annoying when that happens. Yeah, there's so many bands and singers that I've seen over the years.
Musical genius. He's an absolutely musical
it's
genius.
It's horrible when you see some artists where they're just given opportunity after opportunity for years, and you think they don't deserve it, and then you see people like. For me, it was a band called the Noisettes. I went mad for them when they came out, and then it just kind of there was no public interest, and it was just like, oh, which anyway. I know what I'm listening to this evening when I get home, so thank you very much for that.
You're welcome. Lewis Taylor by Lewis Taylor.
Lewis Taylor by Lewis Taylor should be easy to remember. Remind me, Chris. Last question, tough one. Sum up what music means to you in one sentence.
The ability to have fun. Enjoy yourself and express yourself at the same time without judgment.
Perfect answer. That's the end of the Crown Name questionnaire.
It's been a great day. I'm tired.
Yeah, no.
And where's my rum?
That's coming. Well, the last thing is that if you have any recommendations, we always end with recommendations. Your quiz is over, your questionnaire. I might start very quickly. That my recommendations for this episode is that we now have a steady stream of our Crown Name Live Season 2 videos that are out on YouTube. Please go and have a look at them. The quality is absolutely incredible. So they're all available now. And otherwise, the Metronome vinyl night that we're doing, it's the first Friday of every month. Come down to that. It's a free event. Come down, bring your records or choose some of ours. Otherwise, in the world of music and London and everything, have you got any recommendations that you can say?
London's a huge place, right? There's 1,000 recommendations, but let me just get straight to the point. I enjoy working here at Crown Lane Studios. It's been one of the greatest places that I have ever worked in. It's comfortable. I would recommend anyone to come down here, work with the engineers here, work with the producers here, get a sound up, because I've worked with the engineers and the producers here, and the sound that we're getting here is excellent. And the quality of the musicianship here is excellent. And that's the one thing that we must always maintain is high musicality.
Yeah. Well, It may have seemed like we paid David a lot of money to say that.
Didn't pay me a penny.
But you took me off guard there. So no. That's really, really, really lovely for you to say. You caught me off guard there, David. So thank you very, very much for saying that.
You're very
that
welcome,
really
bro.
means a lot to all of us. We love having you here. We love it when you're here.
Love working here, bro.
Absolutely brilliant. But otherwise, that's the end of our episode. Thank you so much.
Thank you very
David,
much
for being here with us, sharing your stories and your expertise and your advice. It's brilliant. So thank you very, very much. We'll see you to our listeners and our viewers, we'll see you next time. And otherwise, enjoy.
Wonderful. And one day, you know what, right? I'm thinking of putting on an event, maybe here, where all my students get an opportunity to sing, and maybe we can be involved in collaborating on that. So I'm thinking about 3 or 4 of my students coming down and have an open mic night.
Perfect.
That'd be a good idea.
You know we're always up for anything like that. Brilliant.
Bless
David,
you.
thank you very much.
Bless you.
And take care, everybody. Goodbye.
Goodbye!